And thank you for making us a part of your day. Appreciate that. Speaking of sports on NBC Sports Radio and NBCSportsRadio.com, see why Valvoline full synthetic high mileage with Max Life technology is different than other motor oils. Go to seeadifference.com. Valvoline, 140 years under the hood. All right, the business of sports also includes the professor, as we like to do around here on Speaking of Sports. Rick Horrow joins us now to talk about some of the deal-making, some of the stuff going on in the business side of the sports world. Good morning, Professor. How are you?
Oh, I'm a little dismayed. I'm flight to Philadelphia to go see the Eagles and the Cowboys is moved back. I might not be able to get to the first quarter. But you know what? NFL games, they're over in the last 2 minutes anyway, so never fear, right?
It's all about the end of the game. Yeah, at least that's what we saw in week one. No question about that. Let's talk about the Olympics off the top of the Horror Sports Brief here. You got a bunch of people that are vying for this 2024 Olympics. Toronto is going to throw their hat in there. Hamburg is interested. L.A. Is someplace. We just had them here in Los Angeles in 1984. It just seems like it's already odd that it's already back around to us. Is L.A. the likely candidate for this or no?
Well, it's a likely candidate from the U.S. perspective, and we're a bit, subjective in our view that we're always the best. But Toronto decided to pass this time around. Paris, however, Budapest, Hamburg, Rome, pretty formidable cities. L.A. says they're going to spend $65 million in donations, and it's huge because they do really want it, unlike Boston. Boston wasn't sure if they wanted it, and everybody acknowledges it was a mistake. Luckily, L.A. can seamlessly step in the September 15 deadline for the USOC and the IOC to come together, all five bidders. It's a bigger race, by the way, than even the stuff on the field. The decision will be made amongst those five in 2017.
All right, Rick, I got to get to this one. This is right at the top, and I'm interested about this because whenever we're talking about fantasy sports, people's ears perk up. And the fact that you're all looking for an edge, every one of us, you've got something that you want to tell people about in the Sports Manias app. You guys have developed something cool. Tell us about it.
Well, yeah, it's a game changer in the fantasy world. They can import players, the teams from CBS, ESPN, Yahoo, everybody. The news feed on the players from the top experts and sources gives them an edge to make smarter roster moves. The Sports Manias app makes it easier for the consumer to access content from the best sources, giving them an edge while increasing traffic. For media companies, it's as simple as downloading, importing, and dominating. Here's the point. $26 billion industry, and this app is done by these people to try to create a vehicle to let the player win more, but also to increase traffic for everybody. And every one of these fantasy leagues and fantasy developers likes this Sports Mania's idea because it increases traffic for everybody. If everybody wins, then everybody plays. And we're getting to a point now where I haven't seen anybody in the world that's not playing fantasy. You can call it gambling. You don't have to call it gambling. Mm-hmm. That's a big issue down the road. But listen, It's dominating the headlines. You and I both know that.
It certainly is, no question about that. The number of people playing, the amount of dollars being wagered, and whether we're talking about these one-day fantasy sites like FanDuel and DraftKings and that, or if we're just talking about regular old fantasy football for fun, everybody looking for that edge. And where do they go for that? Is it sportsmania.com?
Yeah, sportsmanias.com is the Sports Manias app, and it's interesting because they're out there big, and they're reaching some arrangements with a lot of the bigger guys that are spending the advertising dollars saying, play this league, play this league. What Sports Manias is doing is to say whatever league you're playing, download, get involved in it, and you'll have more information, which is kind of cool.
Very cool, especially when it comes to that. And NFL, staying with that, looking to make Thursday Night Football a long-term staple on television. This works. They love it. They want to keep it there. However, I guess it sounds like the package is up for grabs. Is it the guy that steps forward with the most money to help Roger Goodell get to that $25 billion in annual revenue?
What a surprise. Money talks.
Yeah, right.
There's a novel comment for Sunday morning. The bottom line, though, is that the NFL is looking at a whole bunch of different kind of platforms to leverage stuff. Thursday night, the 2-year deal, CBS started it. Great, but all the other networks want it. The second game in London, the Jaguars-Bills, which we thought would be a dog, but the way the Bills are playing, it may not be. It's going to be streamed exclusively, and then the NFL international guys are going to watch and see who picks that up in that 9:30 window. The point is this. The NFL is experimenting with a whole bunch of different windows because if they look like they have some value, they're going to go out to bid for the highest bidder again and get more money.
And which is, what it's all about. I mean, something as red hot as the NFL, that's just what you want to do. Now, let's stay with that. The Chargers looks like they're as close to moving out of San Diego as they have ever been. Now, they just recently – yeah, go ahead.
Back the trucks up.
Yeah, it kind of looks that way. I've got some friends that work in radio down there, and they've been saying for the last couple of months they think that really this is it. They're finally going to go. We think it's going to be the Rams. Now it looks like maybe the Rams and the Chargers could be the two L.A. teams next year, yeah?
Well, let's remember, we said we're going to not talk about this a lot until the end of the season. We've got to talk anyway because people love talking about it. But NFL has its deadline, and the Chargers and the Rams and the Raiders are all up against it, and the incumbent cities have every chance to get it done. But now we understand that a January 12th special election for public money in San Diego may not be able to happen because the time deadline has passed, and that means that San Diego wouldn't have a deal on the table by the time the NFL wants to evaluate these things before Super Bowl 50. So we'll just have to see how it works.
He's the professor, Rick Horrow. He joins us every week on Speaking of Sports. Rick, thanks for being with us as always. Look forward to talking to you next week.
Absolutely, my friend. See you next week.
Appreciate it. Rick Horrow, the professor with the business of sports. And coming up next, fantasy football players. Michael Fabiano joins us next.